Hello, my name is John Reynolds and welcome to Extraordinary Life Stories. On this episode, I'm talking with Brogan Garrit-Smith. Brogan is a businesswoman, an entrepreneur, a philanthropist, a podcast host and a mother. A powerful force in the corporate world, she's raised almost £1 million for the Wickers charity to reduce gang and knife-related crime. Brogan's transformative journey, ignited by her experiences in post-earthquake Haiti, led her to the realisation that life's essence lies in the journey itself. Her podcast, Getting There, offers a platform for diverse voices, inspiring intentional living and fostering empathy. We clearly will get on very well, so let's get into it. Brogan, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
I've been looking forward to this.
Me too.
Tell me, who is Brogan Garrit-Smith?
So I'm just a girl trying to get there.
That's cool. All right, well, take me back to a young Brogan to bring me up to speed where you are now. What did you be inspired by, aspire to be growing up?
Well, the thing is, so my dad's a really successful businessman and he's like the top man of like a business.
Yeah.
And then my mum was a dentist and I didn't really kind of fit anywhere in between, but I knew that I had to make money, right? And my dad told me like, you've got to make money, you've got to paddle your own boat. So off from school, I went into the corporate world. I went to Morgan Stanley and I just worked my off.
Fair play.
I remember in my interview, I was only like 18, 19, and I was going onto the trade floor and the woman was like, no disrespect, but we've not had anyone this age on this floor.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you've not met me. I said, so why don't we do this? I'm going to work for a week for you for free, and then you're going to want to give me this job. And it's probably not the right approach you go to in the corporate world, is it? And she looked at me like I had 5 heads, and I thought, oh, I've messed that one up. And they came and they gave me the job. And then I went in as like an assistant and I worked my way up. And by the time I left, I was an analyst. I used to cover pharmaceuticals. I had no really idea what I was doing, never went to university. And just being there clipped so much of my creativity. And I probably couldn't articulate that then, because for me to be creative, I thought you had to draw. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I can draw, I'm not creative. What am I? But we're creating all of the time.
Yeah.
And I felt that I was in a cage. But loads of stuff went on and I burned out and I was like, I saw a doctor. And at the time, like your health and your mental health and your spiritual being wasn't spoken at one, like about being one thing. And he was like, I've never seen a 24-year-old body in this state. Like I was on antibiotics, John, every 3 weeks. My throat would close up. We used to start at 7 a.m. I'd finish at 7, half 7 at night. Like I had no life. And I gave up my job and which was really scary because I'd attached everything that I was meant to be was this job, right? Because
It was your identity.
It's my identity. It was my purpose.
It's a dangerous place to be in it.
Done all the things that my dad told me I had to do because I had to earn money. I also got credit in my own right by working my way up in there, but it wasn't who I was. So I was really scared and I just wrote a list and I was like, right, I'm going to take a year out because I couldn't see further than a year. And I'm going to do the things that are going to set me on fire or I'm going to learn. And I was like, I'm going to give back. But that was innate in me. I always gave back. Like I spent my 21st birthday volunteering at a homeless shelter. I'd done that for years. But we'll get into that. So I went to Haiti. I volunteered on a Christian mission trip, which I had no idea that was it. I did a cooking course. I went traveling and I did all of these things.
I'm exhausted listening to it.
I know. I did so much. And it goes back to like what we were talking about, your purpose, yeah? So I thought, okay, so now my purpose has gone from Morgan Stanley. So I've got to find something else to almost validate my existence. I kid you not, John, even when I went traveling, I was like, I'm going to find myself. I'm going to find my purpose. I think I thought I was going to jump out of a tree at one point. Like, that's it. I found myself. I know the answer for life. And I would always chase and hound this thing or these accolades or these titles in like getting there. I just like had to get there. And I would chase. It's almost like this oasis and this island and this illusion of success, right?
Destination against the journey.
And we're all, listen, whether
100%. That's why I'm
subconsciously or consciously, we're all trying to get somewhere, yeah? And where you're going and where I'm going are two totally different places. But when you're born, I feel like the world gives you this roadmap to success, yeah? And I was on the roadmap. I was high up. I was earning money. I was like valued at work. All of these things. but I was on someone else's roadmap.
Yeah.
I wasn't on mine. And the thing is, if I spend time in everyone else's lane, I'm never going to be in mine. And that took me a long time to learn.
Yeah, but at least you learned it, because so many people possibly listening to this and watching this are a lot older than you and have stayed in that kind of lane, if you like, and then have the realization, and potentially life's gone. You know, you stopped, and you also did something that so many people don't do. You took time out. You know, that whole kind of taking time out to actually get perspective and actually decide what you're going to do next. And you're going to be brimming with purpose now and drive. Yeah. So you've got to do that sometimes to stop and then find it, right?
So I think what a word we underestimate is intention, because like we're so often, like I say, we're given this roadmap, and like especially handed down by the parent figures in our life or the world, that we don't really question it, do we? Like, you should be working, you should do this, you should do these type of things, and we override all of the stuff that's here.
Sure.
Like, and so you were just talking about the people then that might have bypassed their opportunity to be them. But for me, life's talking at you all of the time. Like my heart, and as much yours, like you will hear those whispers in your heart. You will hear the things that are calling you.
Yeah.
And for me, sometimes that can look differently as well, because when I was in this state, you know, working in the corporate ladder, I'd be like, why is she doing this? And I remember watching like presenters and stuff like, I could do that. Or like this little bit of envy.
Comparison.
Yeah, but with envy, why am I envious? Because there's a part of me that wants that too. So it's not always like, oh, go do this, Brogan, and like it's rainbows in your head. There's also that, I can, I want, and it talks to you in different ways. And I think when you're open up to listening to life, that's when you get a life that's like full of purpose.
And what's interesting is when you've got your purpose, you stop the comparisons as much. This is where social media is frying, particularly young girls that are comparing themselves to others. I've interviewed someone called Professor Dan Nicolau, sitting where you are now. And he said the inflammation and the stress that's caused from girls that go to sleep at night watching and looking at other girls, and their hair's nicer and they're prettier and they're more successful and stuff. But if you're in your lane and you found your purpose, actually you can move that to one side and be like, I'm doing what I know I want to do. I'm doing it because I want to do it.
But also I think we have to be difficult, right? Because that clear here. Because I thought my purpose was all of these things, yeah? It was the accolades, it was the job titles, it was the companies that I owned. And for me, the final thing, I was going to be a mum. And I so wanted that, John. Like, I came from a really dysfunctional, chaotic background, family life. And that is probably one of the other reasons I've almost said no to other people that have asked me to do stuff. Because like for me, in order to understand where someone is, I need to know where they've been, right?
Yeah.
But all of that stuff allowed me to become who I was, number one. But I would chase these things like, oh yeah, I'm this at Morgan Stanley. Oh, I'm this business owner. I'm this. And I would get to the top of these little mountains as such. I'm there. But I never felt it, right? And then I was like, I know I'm going to be a mum. Yeah, like it's a job title, honestly. And I was like, everyone talks about it. It's the final thing, you know, like it's my Everest. We've got this. It's the finish line. And after about 6 months, I thought, I'm a little bit bored. And I think people can't say that. I was like, I love my son more than life, yeah? And I'm a great mum, but I've got life left in me. And I came to understand that my purpose, or anyone's purpose, your purpose, my purpose, it can't be articulated. It can't be held. Like our purposes are dynamic moving things, right? And our purpose is to do the best we can with what's in front of us, right? And that's going to change every day, yeah? Sometimes, like we were talking about, it's just me getting outside the house, yeah?
Yeah.
But to live a life full of purpose is following the dreams that are in your heart, and that's in like your heart and my heart, because what your heart tells you, John, and what's going to light you up is not going to be the same as me. So we get caught up in following everyone else's blueprint for success, which I do agree, like to a certain degree, success leaves clues, right? But we get so caught up following everyone else's blueprint that you're not you.
You've got to find it yourself, right? Yeah. And I think, you know, you mentioned your dad, and I know that my parents had an influence on what I ultimately went into, which wasn't for me. I was told I needed to get a job. Just get a job and you go from there, get your grades at school. So I went and got a job and then didn't like being employed, didn't like what I was doing. And I had to come back out of that and this is quite an interesting concept as well, to then probably get a bit lost, a bit disillusioned, to then ultimately have situations happen where you're then actually genuinely firing off to find your purpose because of tough times.
Yeah.
Why do you think it is that some people only find their purpose when they go through a trauma or a difficult time in their life? How many people do we know that have something that's really quite terrible that's happened to someone around them, and then they come alive, almost like the concept of life nearly ending wakes people up. What's that about?
Well, so for me, it's like your pain can become your purpose. And when you realise, right, and every single thing in life is happening for you, not to you. And I'm talking some of the most tragic things that have ever happened to me or anyone else. And it's like, what is this trying to show you? But I think we get so caught up in what life's meant to look like, yeah? I'm not meant to have this happen to my life. I'm not meant to lose someone. My husband wasn't meant to leave. My child wasn't meant to get sick. All of these things, we're like, this isn't how it's meant to look like. And the more we understand that stuff's going to happen, right? Really uncomfortable, back-breaking stuff. Because for me, I was like, oh, it's not meant to look like this. Oh, my life's really messed up. No, we're all going to get this level of trauma, right? To different degrees. And when we start to look at it, perhaps with a different perspective, like, what is this teaching me, or what can I learn from this? Your pain becomes your power, because you'll be put in circumstances that you thought, I can't do this. I can't see another day. I can't get through this. And then you realise, like, the mountain wasn't anyone else. The mountain was you.
Yeah.
And once you overcome that, anything is possible.
Yeah. And actually, it's a complete reframing of what is kind of almost the victim mindset, where someone else, clearly not you, that could sort of see something as a negative and then get consumed by it and moan about it and just disappear down a place that ultimately is not a good place to be. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, in order to do that, I find part of it's this sort of habits. So I need to work out in the morning. I would like to wake up in the morning and do a workout. And I know keeping fit is important to you. Have you always done that? Have you always naturally found that keeping fit has been something you gravitated to?
Yeah, that's my escapism. That is my escapism.
And what do you do?
Oh, I love to run, John. I feel so free. But it's so interesting we're having this conversation, because I got an injury, and like everything else in life, I ignore it. And I'm still carrying on doing like 8 miles because my head is so noisy, yeah? So sometimes I just have to be like, be quiet, yeah? I'm the poster girl for this ADHD thing, yeah?
Yeah.
And when you lean into it, embrace it, and learn how to work around it, it's amazing, right? But there can be people living in your head. So for me, that's my freedom. But I've overrode what my body's capable of because it became my escapism.
Yeah.
But it's so important just to have some kind of outlet. And I think nowadays we like to complicate it, yeah? I've got to get up. I've got to have a cold shower. I need to get on my acupuncture mat. I've got a cold plunge. I've got to smoke a kilo of sage. I've got to journal for half an hour, and then I'm ready, yeah?
So what time are you getting up?
Yeah, exactly. But I live in the real world, yeah? No, I don't actually do any of these things. They're great ideas. But I'm at the mercy of a 3-year-old. So whatever mood we discuss this, he gets up. It could dictate my day. So for me right now, like, I just need 10 minutes. And I just need 10 minutes to let the voices have their say, just to write things down and just literally digest everything of like what's going on and that clarity. And I tried to meditate and stuff before, but I was like, am I meant to sit like this? Am I meant to sit like that? And then I'm like,
you're too hyper for that. I'm the same.
What am I having for lunch?
Yeah. But crucially, you took time out, which is actually relevant to the earlier part of the conversation. You know when to take time out, and you do it now as a habit.
Yeah, and it's only then, and it's I think what the time out represents is you listening to you.
Yeah.
Like going back to what I was saying earlier, listen to what it is you want to do.
Yeah.
The things you want to say. Like, I'm a big believer that we are all beacons of light. Yeah, everyone's got a light, and some people's burn so brightly you can see it, and you can see when someone's got a dim light. And I think the only way to turn up your light is by living as you. I'm sure you've met people, right? And you're like, that you're captivated by them. You want to be in their company, like, because they're authentically them.
Yeah.
Because they take the time out and like they listen to what they want to do and the things they want to achieve.
Yeah.
And I hope by me being me And it wasn't easy. Like, it's a brave old thing to be you, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is me in all of my glory. Take it like it or lump it. Like, it's a brave old thing. And you know what it's like putting yourself out there on the internet and stuff. People can be unkind. And I hope that by being me and following the things that light me up and living purposely and intentionally, I can help people be the same, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. And there's a really nice connection between the two of us, actually, because you've got your podcast, Getting There. And I can tell that you know, in context of this very much conversation, there's energy, there's passion, there's a genuine interest in finding out about people. Is that something that you needed to crystallize in the podcast? Because what I mean by that is you can listen to other people, but they're not you. You can sort of find out about people, you want to share that. What was it that led to you wanting to do that?
So interesting. So I did a thing called the Hoffman process. So you go and stay in a house with 24 strangers for 8 days. The homework's like this thick. I won't ruin it for anyone because you have to sign an NDA around it.
Cool.
You're only allowed to do it once in your life.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, have you not?
No.
Like, loads of high achievers have done it, like Brad Pitt, Oprah, blah, blah.
I'm not a high achiever.
Listen, so I'd listened to this podcast and I was like, I'll have a bit of that. That's my Everest. Do you know what I mean? Once I've done that, I would have figured it out. And cut a long story short, a lot of stuff goes on in those rooms and you remember a lot of things, you process a lot of things, you understand a lot of things, but ultimately at the end, you decide who you want to be. So if you carry on the left road, so the road that I'm living now, what does it look like when I die? What does it look like when people come and talk above my grave? What does my eulogy look like? That's one thing. Now, if I go and follow the right road, all of the things that I want to do, that out there, I was like, wild. I'm going to do this. I'm going to talk and people are going to listen. And I was like, never thought it would happen. And if I follow all of this, what does that life look like? So I was like, I need to start living with some kind of level of intent. And being in that room and being in that process and watching everyone else's trauma, like, it's not for the faint-hearted. One thing I knew is, I spoke earlier about all the disruptive, chaotic, bad childhood stuff that I had happen to me, but it made me who I am, and that made me have the ability to make other people feel seen, heard and connected. Like, I'm the most empathetic person you'll ever meet, and sometimes that can work against me, right? But I knew I was in that room and I could hold people, right? And I thought we're all chasing this this illusion of happiness, and I thought we're all going to the same place, and I realised it's so intrinsically different where you're heading, where I'm heading, what lights you up, what lights them up. Like, I kind of thought everyone thought like me. So
we all do that, though. You need perspective and maturity to understand that. But
and when I left, I was like, I want to know where everyone else is going.
Yeah.
Where's their destination? Where are they getting to? What have they learned along the way and what can they teach me? What's the quickest way of speeding up my process? And I started writing this book of like just stuff I'd learned. And then I was talking to my therapist and I was like, I'm going to interview some people. And she was like, should we do something? And they're the only 4 episodes I've not got the balls to drop, John. Yeah. So she was my first 4. And I was like, I mean, I've never deleted any. And I was like, I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go for it because
Well,
no one's judging me the way I'm judging me. I could probably post a picture on Instagram now, like mooneying out of a window or something, and someone would forget tomorrow. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's to you at that moment, it's everything. I've got that with my daughters at the moment, by the way.
It's everything. And it's you, and you're putting yourself out there to be judged. And it's hard when your work is so real and it's raw and it's you. Like, for so long I hid behind my guests and I was like, no, this is me. I feel like I'm naked now.
You're ultimately living in fear. It's not a good way of living, right?
No.
So many people do it. Actually, this is really relevant to a key part of what you do, campaigning and seeking the truth and actually trying to help people that, dare I say, haven't got as strong a personality and voice as you, which you use for so much good. Yeah. Tell me why you got into that, how you got into that, and also tell me about the Wickers ball.
Oh, it's so exciting. You're coming, aren't you?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it was so exciting.
Yeah.
So philanthropy has always been a part of my life. And again, like, you can't get here without understanding this. Yeah. I'd always, since I was a little girl, felt like I had a duty to save everyone. And I think that's because I saw so many people in so much pain. And I always felt, I can fix that. I can do this. So there were parts of me, like when I'd be at particularly low ebbs in my life, I would be even more in service to people because I think it gives you that perspective. So I've always done a lot of stuff with like the homeless shelter. I would always, like, if I went to Africa once, I'd go down to the orphanages, over to Haiti, which needs a podcast of its own about this is basically why I'm here, you know, and philanthropy's always been a huge part of my life and my dad's life. And he came from East London, which is extremely impoverished at the minute, and it's really notorious for gang and knife crime. And he was like, if I ever make it as such, I'm going to go back and give back. And he's a man true to his word, and he's shaped and changed that community through his charity, the Wickers charity.
You glow when you talk about him, by the way. I love
honestly, he's like, he's amazing. And he was like, right, we're going to do all this stuff. And he said to me, because he's got this really archaic way of working and managing his children as well, he was like, you know, you come and will help me raise this money. I had no idea what I was doing. And I really believed in what they were doing. And he said, I'm climbing, I need £60,000. I don't know, man, £60,000. We haven't even got charity now. You got 4 weeks, yeah? So he sets me these inherently large goals. I was like, oh, okay. I raised 182 in 3 weeks. So they've not let me leave. So
you created your own
environment
there.
Now I'm like, I'm like just winging it.
But you were incredibly good at it, and you enjoyed it as well.
Because I care, and I want to bring people as part of the story. And you know what we do is remarkable. We work from 8 to 21-year-olds, and we believe that every child has the right to fulfil their full potential, regardless of their race, regardless of the postcode they've been brought up in. And we talked about environments and stuff earlier, but like if your environment's clipped, like you don't see the outside. And what happens with the police and stuff, they shut like all this gang and gun violence, which is what we're in the middle of. They're like, do you know what? You're going to go to this. You're going to be incarcerated. You're going to end up in prison. Who cares? I want to strengthen my drug network. I wear it as a badge of honour. So we kind of came in with this different perspective, and we almost like shone the light. So we're like, look, this is what a job opportunity looks like. This is what work placements look like. We started incorporating mentors. Because if your parents have been incarcerated, or you've never even met them, or you've never had a father figure or whatever in your life, I think the statistic is something mad. It's like 95% of people that are in prison come from broken homes, yeah? So if you haven't got these figureheads,
you've got no
guidance.
Got
nothing to aim for,
It makes so much sense.
So, and it's what we do is obviously very behavioural. And so I came on board. They've literally reshaped Hackney. It's one of the fastest growth charities in the UK. I'm so proud of them. So one day I came up with one of my ideas, and I was like, I've got it. We're going to do a boxing event. We're going to do Peaky Blinders. We're going to do a dishes warehouse. We're going to have like smoke machines. We're going to have food fans, and it's going to be amazing. And everyone's coming in fancy dress. And I took it to the board, because even though my dad's like head honcho, like I've got to go to a board. I'm a professional. I'm an adult. And they were like, Brogan, have you watched Peaky Blinders? I was like, yeah. And they were like, okay, so this is like kind of a no drugs party, Pablo Escobar themed. And I was like really disheartened. And I was like, but I've got to make it work, because I've got this vision, right? This like 1920s vision. So I held on to it. So it's turned into the Great Gatsby boxing. So it's like super themed, and it's like a great networking event. And we bring the children to the young people from the charity. And it started off like property led. And now it's just literally, it's one of the best, I can say that. It genuinely is one of the best galas to go to. And hopefully this year we would have raised over £1 million.
Well done, you. I love it. I mean, I can't wait now. I was already looking forward to it.
I hope you enjoy it. You will. I know you will.
Yeah. And it's cool because people, particularly on the back of COVID, people want to be out, and we know how important connection and community is, and a good social. So actually you've put your heart and soul into trying to work out from an empathetic point of view what will make that a great night out, but for an amazing cause as well.
Yeah, and you want people to feel part of the story. Like, I just don't want to take people's pants down, take their money, give to my charity and run off.
Make sure they have a good time.
Yeah, no, but not that as well. Like, I talk, and I have children from the charity talk and explain, like, I'm not silly, John, yeah? People can't afford their mortgage. So I'm asking people to come out of their comfort zone sometimes to support something that is behavioural as such. But when you understand that these children are victims to what has been happened to them. Like if you're walking across an estate and you know the other gang has a knife, are you going to not carry a knife?
You got
Do
to
you know
protect
what
yourself.
I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
And it's reframing that, because when you strip it back, like what we said, it's that fear.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's showing that there's a life away from fear. And I hope that one day
our success, we can ripple across the country. I mean, 100%. And I think everyone needs to feel lovable or wanted and that community, because they find that in a gang. You can feel part of something, but that's unsafe.
Yeah, and it could be the completely wrong direction to go in, but you're lost. So you articulated that very well. And actually, just on that kind of almost education piece, like you know, I said, having a good night, you're then saying, well, mate, I'm educating people that may be ignorant to what you are aware of and people need to know, and then ultimately can make a difference by donating. If you flip that back to the current education system, the curriculum, and, you know, kids are still using the Bunsen burner in chemistry and learning algebra, right? And yet we're not taught about financial literacy. You know, you talk about paying the mortgage and so on. Everyone's going to be paying mortgage or the rent. Then there's the self-development piece and mindfulness. And so why is that not taught in school? And how can that education piece that you're trying to help sort of bring that in earlier for purpose and for, you know, kids to have
the time like I have, just chasing all around the world,
my
fighting yourself.
whole point was wasting time, right?
Yeah.
I know there was a chunk of my life that was wasted.
But is it wasted?
Well, okay, I totally get that, because you need to go through that to find, but what if you could, and will the kids be receptive to that now? Would we have been?
Again, we're doing what they do, yeah? We're trying to find an answer for everyone. And like, some people might not get the bit of chasing until they're 40. Do you know what I mean?
And had to find it for themselves.
Yeah, and I think this is the thing. Like, I'm not your coach, like, to anyone. I get loads of people reach out to me like, I'm just a girl getting there, yeah? My there is totally different to yours. But I can show you ways that can make you remember who you are and what your soul's calling is. But I haven't got the answers. But like, if we can teach the children more that the answers are within than without, because as a society, I feel like we're scrambling for the answers. Like, we all want a dietitian, a lifestyle coach. We need a PTs. We need this. We need that. We need all of these like hierarchies of everyone knows better. Like, we don't. You know, John. You know. I know. And what's meant for you will find you. And I think the more we can teach children to trust in themselves.
Yes.
And to lean into themselves.
Yes.
Because everything that you need, everything is already inside of you. And it's our job to bring that out.
Yeah.
And for people to remember, like, you don't need to look like anyone else. You don't need to be like anyone else. Like, even when I started the podcast, before I started, I was like, Jay Shetty, he's number one, Stephen, number two, or whatever. I'm going to listen to these two. I'm going to copy what they do, because success leaves clues. And then, like, voila. I don't know if you've listened to them yet, but they are not me. Yeah, John. They are more controlled. Yeah, they're probably a little bit more formal. But like, if someone's coming on my show, I want to know the ins and outs. Yeah, I want to know what time you went to the toilet. You know, why you're here. I want to know everything. And I started off being like this little bit more professional person, because I was like, I think this is what the world wants. But that wasn't me.
No.
I didn't lean into who I was. And that takes time and that takes practice. But the more you're like, this is me, and not everyone will like you. And that's okay.
But you need to learn that by actually going through that process of you copying, you know, highest form of flattery, right? So Stephen, Jay Shetty, but then it's not you. Then you learn that by actually bringing it back to being yourself. But I think some people just need to go through that. I did. I needed to make mistakes, fail, to then actually find the route that worked for me and be myself.
Yeah, and I think just because something's been done doesn't mean it can't be done differently.
No.
Because you're completely different to me. Your podcast, or if you were to do one and the person's mine, is going to be completely different.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that someone's better than the others. Some people might like me, some people might like you, some people might not like the pair of us. Do you know what I mean?
But what's nice is, like, I mean, you've got such a great kind of flamboyant way of articulating, but everything you're saying is so lived experience, it's so authentic. So actually, whether it's a youngster growing up, whether it's an adult right now that watches this and goes, do you know what? It really struck a chord, and that's how I feel right now, and I'm going to change it. Then that's made a difference, and that can make a difference just for one person.
I feel that my duty is to make, sometimes, you know, like we go to these gurus, yeah, and they're like, you know, your purpose, you're this, you're that. And it's almost like it goes over your head, don't you? Because I'm never going to be like Mahatma Gandhi, yeah? But we've all got this little bit of light, yeah? So I'm saying so what I want to do is be like, articulate
make it available for everyone. And that's my job. When people come onto my show, like I've got a really interesting lineup coming up, and I want to make what they're saying accessible to everyone, to people that are perhaps living in caravans with low education and low income and that don't understand how they can biohack their children's food and bring down their nervous system and relieve their trauma. I want everyone to know that they are enough, exactly as they are, exactly as they take their breath. They haven't got to spend their life chasing this thing in order to find their purpose. Like, you are enough as you are here right now. And I feel like it's my duty in the work that I do to just make that accessible for everyone.
Yeah. And you're doing it.
I hope so.
And I know you've said it already, but I know that you don't choose to speak to anyone else. So I'm super flattered that you've talked to me. I've been really looking forward to the really annoying thing is we're out of time.
That's
I could
fine.
talk to you for so much longer, but I loved our conversation, and thank you so much for talking with me.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Brogan.
Thank you.